Good morning, you're watching Anewz. I'm Dilek Tuna. Here are the top stories for the hour. Israel says it will let food into Gaza after announcing a new ground assault. Liberal Mayor Nicușor Dan defeats high-right rival in Romania's election. Former US President Biden is diagnosed with an aggressive prostate cancer.
They failed. He tried to prevent the people.
In a policy shift, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced the resumption of limited humanitarian aid into Gaza, ending a blockade that lasted more than 2 months. This decision comes amid escalating international pressure over the worsening humanitarian crisis in the Strip.
Israel has agreed to permit the entry of a basic quantity of food into Gaza to avert a potential famine. That's according to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office, which says the move is also intended to support the ongoing military campaign, Operation Gideon's Chariots, aimed at defeating Hamas.
We embark upon this operation to achieve every war objective in Gaza, returning the hostages, dismantling Hamas's leadership. We are moving to the next phase of the war, from the might and sword to the chariots of Gideon. The operation is part of the Iron Swords War. During the operation, we will intensify the military control in the Gaza Strip by segmenting the Strip and relocating the population for their own protection. In all areas we'll operate.
The statement did not specify the exact timing or mechanisms for the aid delivery. However, reports indicate that distribution will be managed by international aid organizations already operating in Gaza. This decision, after a 10-week blockade, has faced opposition from key members of Netanyahu's far-right coalition, including National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir and Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, who have threatened to resign if aid delivery resumes. United Nations agencies have reported worsening humanitarian conditions in the Strip since the blockade's imposition, with the Integrated Food Security Phase classification reporting that about 93% of Gaza's population is experiencing food insecurity, ranging from crisis to catastrophe levels. As the situation continues to deteriorate, international pressure mounts for a resolution to the conflict and the alleviation of the humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
It was an unexpected result in Romania's presidential election on Sunday. According to preliminary results, with 98% of the votes counted, pro-European Union Bucharest Mayor Nicușor Dan has gained 54% of the vote, taking the lead over his hard-right rival George Simion, who received 46%.
Romania's centrist Bucharest Mayor Nicușor Dan has won a surprise victory in the presidential election over the leader of the far-right Alliance for the Union of Romanians party, George Simion. Voter turnout was the highest in 25 years, with more than 11 million Romanians voting on Sunday.
It's your victory, you know. It is the victory of thousands and thousands of people who campaign these days, who believe that Romania could change in the right direction. Don't forget, never forget the strength which you have proven these weeks, because together we will have things we have to get past.
The 55-year-old had campaigned on fighting corruption, supporting Ukraine and maintaining ties with the European Union and NATO. Known for his calm demeanour, he trailed Simion until days before the vote, but surged ahead at the last moment.
Romania starts a new phase tomorrow, and it needs each of you. It needs specialists to get involved in different public policies. It needs people in civil society. It needs new people in politics. And as you have proven that you can do this campaign, please continue to be active for Romania.
Although Simion led the first round with 41%, he accepted defeat after initially claiming victory. The first round was cancelled 6 months ago due to alleged Russian interference and far-right favourite Călin Georgescu being disqualified. Simeon had relied on Georgescu's support and promised to make him Prime Minister if elected. Dan's win sparked enthusiasm in Bucharest. He warned of tough times ahead and stressed the need for a parliamentary coalition to restore economic balance and investor confidence. Romania has the EU's highest budget deficit, and Dan pledged to prevent a credit rating downgrade.
We have to build a Romania together. Regardless of the political options, we have to build a Romania together with the Romanians in Romania. We have to build a Romania together with the Romanians in the diaspora. We have to build a Romania with the Romanians in Bessarabia, Moldova, and the other territories around Romania.
The results in Romania are seen as a reaction against right-wing populism in Europe. Analysts warned that a Simeon victory could have isolated Romania from its international allies, destabilise NATO's eastern flank and reduce economic investments. Had he won, Simeon might have formed a new alliance with Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban and Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico.
In Poland's presidential election, Liberal Mayor Rafał Trzaskowski leads with 31.1% and will face Conservative Karol Nawrocki, who has 29.1% in the second round on June the 1st. Official results will be announced later on Monday. Trzaskowski promises to ease strict abortion laws and speed up judicial reforms. Right-wing candidates Sławomir Mencen and Grzegorz Braun did better than expected, which may weaken Trzaskowski's support. Mencen's voters might back Nawrocki or stay home. Braun has caused concern with his anti-Semitic statements. Portugal's centre-right Democratic Alliance Party has won early elections but fell short of a majority, with socialists and far-right Chega Party close behind. Prime Minister Luis Montenegro said he has a clear mandate but ruled out deals with Chega, blaming socialists for blocking a coalition. The vote followed Montenegro's government losing a confidence vote amid family business allegations, which he denies. ED led with more than 32%, Chega rose to 22.6% and socialists fell to 23.4%. Montenegro must now seek support from other parties individually. As efforts to end the war hit a deadlock, Russia escalates its military campaign with a record-breaking drone strike on Ukraine. Meanwhile, international attention turns to possible new interventions, with Trump hinting at direct talks with Putin.
A massive overnight drone attack by Russia killed a 28-year-old woman and injured at least 3 others, including a young child, in the Kyiv region. Ukrainian officials said Sunday's barrage, involving 273 drones, also targeted the Dnipropetrovsk and Donetsk regions in the east, marking the most extensive drone strike since the war began in 2022.
We squeezed in the cellar and then we heard an explosion. We saw that house was gone and decided to go to the bomb shelter at the kindergarten. It was quiet for a few minutes, so we had time to run over there. We only grabbed a bag with documents.
There were many explosions, a lot of them. It has been the 4th year of war. We thought God will spare us, but thanks, we are at least alive.
My parents built the house. I lived here when I first went to school. I've been living here my entire life until now. Now I have no roof over my head.
Air raid alerts lasted for 9 hours overnight across much of Ukraine, including the capital. Ukrainian air defences were active throughout the night as the military tried to repel waves of drone attacks. The raids followed the first direct talks between Russia and Ukraine in over 3 years, held in Istanbul on Friday. Those talks failed to produce a breakthrough, with Kyiv and its Western allies pushing for a temporary ceasefire, a call Moscow did not answer. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump announced he plans to speak with both Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Monday.
Very strong.
Trump, who had earlier offered to attend the Istanbul talks if Putin showed up, an offer the Kremlin declined, said progress would only be possible through direct talks between himself and Putin. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov confirmed preparations for a Putin-Trump phone call were underway, though no details have been finalized. Ukrainian officials say Moscow used the talks in Istanbul to present new and unacceptable demands, including that Ukraine withdraw from large areas of its own territory in exchange for a ceasefire. Kyiv has since reiterated its demand for a full and unconditional halt to hostilities.
Ukraine's military intelligence said on Sunday that Russia was preparing to carry out a training and combat launch of an intercontinental ballistic missile. The move was intended to intimidate both Ukraine and Western nations. According to a statement on Telegram by the GUR agency, the launch was set to take place from Russia's Sverdlovsk region, with the missile's range exceeding 10,000 kilometers. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said on Sunday that he and the leaders of France, Britain and Poland are seeking a joint conversation with US President Donald Trump. The request comes ahead of Trump's scheduled call with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday. Merz shared that he had already spoken with US Secretary of State Marco Rubio during their visit to the Vatican for the inaugural Mass of Pope Leo XIV. He also extended talks with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
I had the opportunity to speak with President Zelensky for some time during the way into St. Peter's Basilica. I spoke with Marco Rubio, also about the phone call tomorrow, and we have now agreed that we will speak again with the four heads of state and government and the US President in preparation for this talk. We can only hope that there will now be further progress, and my firm impression is that both the Europeans and the Americans are determined to work together in a targeted manner to ensure that this terrible war ends soon.
Free speech in Europe, a cornerstone of democratic society, but is it under pressure? From Finnish politicians in court over Bible tweets to German satire facing heavy fines, the line between open debate and censorship is becoming increasingly blurred. Let's take a closer look.
Europe prides itself on being a bastion of liberal values, yet free speech across the continent is increasingly facing unexpected challenges. Finnish MP and former Interior Minister Päivi Räsänen became embroiled in controversy after questioning online whether the Finnish Lutheran Church's support of the Pride Parade aligned with biblical teachings. Although acquitted by a Finnish court in 2022, prosecutors are pushing for a Supreme Court retrial, turning her simple tweet into an ongoing legal saga now spanning 6 years. Räsänen's case is far from isolated. Germany's strict laws against defamatory criticism of politicians have triggered hundreds of complaints. Recent incidents have seen hefty fines and even suspended prison sentences for satirical or harsh commentary. Meanwhile, in France, a pensioner who publicly insulted President Emmanuel Macron was ordered to attend a civic awareness course to avoid further charges. Adding to the complexity, new EU rules under the Digital Services Act are requiring online platforms to actively guard against content that might negatively influence civic discourse, a term critics argue is dangerously vague. Denmark has reintroduced laws protecting religious texts, criminalizing their disrespectful treatment after controversies involving Quran burnings sparked international tensions. Authorities maintain such regulations are necessary for societal harmony, but many Europeans increasingly feel constrained. In Germany, fewer than half the population now believe they can freely express their opinions, down dramatically from 80% in 1990. Europe's challenge is balancing respect with openness, navigating a cultural landscape that grows more sensitive and complex by the day.
Thousands of people, including dozens of world leaders, gathered in St. Peter's Square in the Vatican, where the inauguration of Pope Leo XIV was held.
Tens of thousands of excited faithful gathered in St. Peter's Square in Vatican for the inauguration of the first American to head the global Catholic Church, Pope Leo XIV. Leo, who was elected in a conclave that ended on May 8th, was officially installed as the new leader of the world's 1.4 billion Roman Catholics at an outdoor mass. The 267th pontiff was welcomed by cheers as he greeted and blessed the crowds from the Pope Mobile. His inauguration has been met with support from Catholics who have expressed their excitement.
It's a great honor for God to choose and to bless the choice of the cardinals of a cardinal from America. So for me, it's exciting.
We're all very happy for Peter's successor in the church and very, very happy enjoying Rome, enjoying the new Pope, the love for the church and all the wonderful people here. We're very happy.
World leaders were also in attendance for the inauguration, including European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. US Vice President J.D. Vance and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky also met with the newly inaugurated Pope, who showed concern for the war in Gaza and Ukraine.
In the joy of faith and communion, we cannot forget our brothers and sisters who suffer from the wars. In Gaza, children, families, elderly survivors are starving. In Myanmar, new hostilities have claimed innocent young lives. The martyred Ukraine finally awaits negotiations for a just and lasting peace.
Leo XIV, whose first words to the crowds in St. Peter's Square were, "Peace be with all of you," has already pledged to make every effort for peace and offered the Vatican as a mediator in global conflicts.
Former US President Joe Biden has been diagnosed with an aggressive hormone-sensitive prostate cancer that has metastasized to his bones. Biden, who left office in January, was diagnosed on Friday after he saw a doctor last week for urinary symptoms. The cancer is a more aggressive form of the disease, characterised by a Gleason score of 9 out of 10. This means his illness is classified as high grade and the cancer cells could spread quickly. Biden and his family are said to be reviewing treatment options. His office added that the cancer was hormone sensitive, meaning it could likely be managed. Leaders across the political spectrum, including US President Trump, have expressed their support for Biden. Iran says it's committed to never developing nuclear weapons, grounding its stance in religious and ethical principles. Speaking at the Tehran Dialogue Forum, Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi emphasised Iran's dedication to diplomacy, transparency and a balanced nuclear agreement. He called for full respect of Iran's nuclear rights and the complete lifting of sanctions that he said harm ordinary citizens. The statement comes as Iran and the US have held 4 rounds of indirect negotiations, mediated by Oman and Italy, aimed at breaking the deadlock over Tehran's nuclear program. A delegation from the Islamic Republic of Iran, led by the head of the contingent participating in the joint Anewz 2025 exercises, along with other participants, has arrived in Azerbaijan. A meeting was held between the exercise commanders of both countries and other high-level members. During the meeting, a briefing was presented on the purpose of the exercise, the scenario, the area where it will be conducted, the preparation process, safety rules, and the tasks to be carried out at various stages. The joint Anewz 2025 exercise will continue in liberated territories of Azerbaijan until the 21st of May. The informal summit of Organisation of Turkic States will take place on the 20th and 21st of May in Budapest, according to the Secretariat of the OTS. Hosted by Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, the informal OTS summit will gather leaders from member states Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkey and Uzbekistan, along with observers and the OTS Secretary General. It marks the first summit held in an observer state, underscoring Hungary's growing role in Turkic cooperation. Under the theme Meeting Point of East and West, leaders will discuss deeper cooperation and shared regional ties. Turkey is set to import its first indigenous-developed jet trainer, the Hürjet, to Spain after signing a memorandum of understanding in Madrid. The light combat aircraft is manufactured by Turkish Aerospace Industries, and Turkish authorities say this agreement marks a memorable moment for the country's aviation.
Turkey's indigenous supersonic advanced jet trainer, Hürjet, has been selected by the Spanish Air Force, beating American and Italian rivals. A memorandum of understanding was signed at the FEINDEF 2025 Defense Fair in Madrid this week between Turkish Aerospace Industries, Airbus, and the Spanish Ministry of Defense. Turkish authorities say it marks a major step toward the light combat aircraft's export and joint production in Spain. The TAI General Manager, Mehmet Demiroğlu, told Turkish media outlet Savunma Sanayi East that the agreement launches the Spanification process, integrating Spanish companies into the supply chain.
We have completed another milestone in our Hürjet's journey to Spain. We also took a big step with Airbus. They were selected as the national coordinators by the Spanish Air Force and the Ministry of Defense. What does this mean? It means we will carry out the industrialization part together with Airbus.
Production will occur in two phases. Initial units built entirely by TAI, followed by a mixed production model with Spanish partners. Demiroğlu emphasized that Hürjet remains a fully Turkish product with localization adapted to Spain's requirements. A detailed industrialization plan will be submitted within 2 months, with a final contract expected by late 2025. Officials say this is the first time a Turkish-made trainer aircraft will be used by another NATO country's air force, highlighting a milestone for Turkey's defense exports, previously dominated by naval, unmanned, and land systems. Both Turkey and Spain aim to have Hürjet operational by 2028 or sooner.
And now over to sport news. It's been a weekend packed with drama, from cup final glory to title races heating up across Europe. With our Nick Summerby, we'll break down all the key results, look ahead to the big games coming this week, and even take a quick pit stop to catch up on the latest from Formula One. Let's get straight into it.
It's a busy time in the world of sport, and I'm going to try and take you right across it. If you like ice hockey, there's no better place to be at the moment than Sweden and Denmark. It's the World Championships. This is done annually. There's 46 teams involved. We'll give you the results from yesterday. Slovenia lost to Austria 3-2. Slovakia lost 5-1 to Latvia. Today is a crucial day as well. France is playing Slovenia and Canada is playing Finland. The Group A's, Sweden, Canada, Finland and Latvia in the top four. Austria, Slovakia and France in behind that, looking to squeeze into getting that top four. Group B, Switzerland, Czechia, United States, Germany, Denmark, Hungary and Kazakhstan. Last year's winners was Czechia with gold, silver, Switzerland and bronze was Sweden. So when I come back to you during the midweek, I will keep you updated with the scores and where we are with the tables. Going on to Formula One, it was at Imola, and it's the Italian Grand Prix, the home of Ferrari, but at the moment it's not happening at all. You look at Lewis Hamilton, started off in 10th in the grid. It wasn't happening at all, but the winner was Verstappen, Lando Norris just behind it and Oscar Piastri. You look at the McLaren teams at the moment, second and third. So to give you where we are in the table, Oscar Piastri with 146, Lando Norris with 133 and Verstappen with 124. Moving on to the golf, it was the PGA Championship. Scotty Scheffler, he was 5 shots in the lead, but then all of a sudden it went horribly wrong for him, but eventually he got the job done by beating Jon Rahm. So congratulations to Scotty Scheffler on winning the PGA Championship. Moving on to football, I'll run you through. We had the FA Cup final in England. Congratulations to Crystal Palace beating Manchester City. Goal from Eze. They were like absolute machines. It was all about Manchester City. It was all about the possession, but then all of a sudden they got the goal, hit them on the counter-attack, got the goal and they defended. Pep Guardiola wasn't happy at all with certain decisions. Henderson, should he have been sent off with a handball outside the box? Forget all about that. This is Crystal Palace's time. It's the first time they won the FA Cup, and the scenes from the fans was absolutely wonderful to see. You know, when you're an underdog, that's what makes the FA Cup special, and they went and got the trophy, and it was a special day. But Pep Guardiola now fighting to stay in the Champions League spot. Running through the Premier League as well, as we're looking more, we know Liverpool have won the title, but we're looking more towards who's going to get into the Champions League, and it'll be 6 teams what get into the Champions League, because obviously Manchester United are playing Tottenham in the Europa final as well. So to give you a quick rundown, Aston Villa beat Spurs 2-0, Chelsea beat Manchester United 1-0, and then running through the games, Goodison Park was a special occasion as well because it was their final game at Goodison Park. They won 2-0 against Southampton. West Ham against Forest. Forest needed to win. They won 2-1, so they're still in the mix and in the fight for the Champions League. Brentford lost to Fulham 3-2. Leicester won 2-0. Vardy on his 500th appearance. It's his final game for Leicester. He bowed out with a 2-0 victory and a goal for him. Arsenal beat Newcastle. Arsenal are now in the Champions League. But this week, we've got an awful lot to look forward to. Let's not forget as well, Brighton are playing Liverpool on Monday. Sorry about that. Tuesday, it's a huge day because Palace and City played in the FA Cup. Palace play Wolves and City play Bournemouth. Only 2 games remaining, so City and Pep Guardiola are fighting to stay in the Champions League. Wednesday, the Europa League final. I will be giving you either the run-up before the game, huge game. 2 teams who've had the worst seasons in Premier League history, Spurs and Manchester United. Whoever wins will be in the Champions League, and wow, a lot to look forward to and a lot to move on in the weeks to come as well. Let's not forget we've got the Champions League final as well. I'll see you shortly during the week and give you an update on all the sport.
That wraps up the world news and the latest in sports. Keep watching A News for more updates.